According to really good research, somewhere between 40 and 50% of students who graduate from great youth groups and great families drift from God and the church after graduation. As a mom and as a leader and as a follower of Christ, I'm not satisfied with that, and I'm guessing you all aren't either. So thanks to a grant from the Lilly Endowment, we were able to study over 500 youth group graduates during their first 3 years in college. And I've got to say, I have learned so much myself as a youth leader and parent. Every day, I act differently around my own kids and the teenagers that I know. If I was to summarize Sticky Faith, I'd point to 3 shifts that we need to make in youth and family ministry. The first shift is from a behavior-based gospel to a grace-based gospel. The students in our survey, when we asked them to describe what it means to be a Christian, they typically pointed to behaviors, to do's and don'ts. It was like somehow they thought that if they just followed this behavioral checklist and could check things off that list, then somehow they'd feel a little bit better about themselves, God would like them, and maybe God would love them a little bit more. It's almost like, Mike, that jacket that you're wearing. They tended to think of their faith as external behaviors, just like a jacket. It hadn't really changed the inside of who they are. And as a result, when they graduate, go to college or the military or the workforce, when they fail, note I said when they fail, not if they fail. When they fail, then it's like they've taken off that jacket and thrown it into the corner. And what's tragic is they don't realize that their faith in the gospel is so much more than a jacket. So at the very heart of Sticky Faith is shifting from this gospel of behaviors to a gospel based on God's grace, and that there's nothing we can do to make God like or love us any more or less. The second shift that's really key in Sticky Faith is shifting from separating students from the rest of the church to integrating students into the overall life of the church. We looked at 13 different participation variables, 13 different things that youth group kids tend to do in the context of their youth group. Things like small groups and service and justice, and those were important. But one of the highest corollaries was between intergenerational worship and mature faith, both in high school and college. There's something really special and powerful about having students involved in the overall life of the church. The problem is that as youth ministries become more professionalized, we've ended up segregating students. And that's not a verb we use lightly, but we've segregated students from the rest of the church. Now, is there a time and a place for 16-year-olds to be on their own every once in a while, maybe even on a regular basis? You bet. But out of our Sticky Faith research, we're inviting churches to take small steps or medium steps toward involving students in the overall life of the church. And then the third shift is to shift from what we call dry cleaner parents to really partnering with parents. Now, what's a dry cleaner parent? This is a term that one of our Fuller colleagues, Pam King, came up with. A dry cleaner parent is a parent who brings their students Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, all dirty to church, and then wants to pick them up 75 or 90 minutes later, all clean. And guess who's done the cleaning? It's been us, the paid and volunteer youth leaders. We need to shift from that mentality, and instead, Sticky Faith means that youth leaders partner with parents, that parents no longer think they can outsource the spiritual development of their kids to the youth leaders, but that instead, both youth leaders and parents work hand in hand. And our Sticky Faith research and books and resources have all sorts of ideas on how to do that. So really, our biggest prayer is that Sticky Faith, it's not even just research or good ideas, but that it's a movement that ultimately changes every teenager, church, and family in this country.